Hello, I'm Kate Raworth, and this video is an introduction to unrolling the donut where you are. Because ever since the donut was first published in 2012, people have been asking, what would it mean for our place to live in the donut? Our street, our neighborhood, our town or district, our city, our region, our state, our nation. How do we answer that question where we are in our locality? Well, we start by unrolling the donut to create some space between the social foundation and the ecological ceiling so that we can dive in and explore a little question. Of course, it's not a little question at all. It's a very big question. How can our place become a home to thriving people in a thriving place while respecting the well-being of all people and the health of the whole planet? That is a big and complex question. So we break it down into what we call the 4 lenses. And as you can see on the left-hand side, there are 2 lenses of local aspiration, social and ecological, and then 2 lenses of global responsibility, social and ecological, because we recognize that every place is connected to the whole world and therefore has impacts on people and planet worldwide. So we ask, how can all the people of our place thrive? And how can our place be as generous as nearby nature? But also, how can our place respect the health of the whole planet and respect the well-being of all people? So let's dive into these lenses one at a time. Let's start with the local social. How can all the people of our place thrive? What would it mean for everyone here to lead a good life in terms of food and water, health, education, housing, and all of those dimensions of the local social foundation? These dimensions are drawn from the Sustainable Development Goals, but we've added to them community, culture, and equality and diversity because these things matter in place. People tell time and time again, this matters to us here. Let's make it reflected in our local portrait. How do we ensure that we're thinking of people in our full diversity of this place? All of the different cultures and the histories of who lives here and what it means to ensure that everybody lives well. Let's add to that local social focus a question of the local ecology. So how can our place be as generous as nearby nature? And this lens draws on biomimicry thinking. We can go to the nearby wildland next door, the healthy ecosystem intact. It could be a forest or a wood. It could be a wetland or the coast. Go and see how nature in this place has learned to be generous and continually produce conditions conducive to life. Because in every locality, nature has a genius. She's learned to cleanse the air and house biodiversity, to store carbon, to cycle water, harvest energy, to regulate the temperature, to build and protect soil and enhance our well-being. What if nature's generosity became the aspiration for this place? Can we create human settlements that also cleanse the air and store carbon instead of releasing it? Can we regulate the temperature like the forest does from the treetops to the forest floor so that on a hot day, instead of having an urban heat island effect, we have a cool city or a cool town? Can we prevent flash flooding and absorb water underground and store it for when it's needed? Can we bring back wildlife? Can we enhance our well-being and harvest energy? So many designs for the places where we live that will not only enhance their ecological generosity, but also enhance their resilience in the face of climate change. So these are the 2 local lenses, social and ecological. But we have to recognize that every place is connected to the whole world through global supply chains of the food we eat, the clothes we wear, the electronics we use, the construction materials that are built into every building in a place. Where did they come from? They are often drawn through global supply chains from the whole world. So we can ask, how can our place respect the health of the whole planet? And this lens is drawn from the planetary boundaries. How can we ensure that the full consumption impact of how we live here, that's having implications and a footprint worldwide, how can we ensure that's within planetary boundaries, that we must act on climate change? We must reduce our chemical pollution and materials use. We must live within the means of the planet here, looking across all 9 of these planetary boundaries. What would it mean to ensure that this place has come back within them? And still thinking of global supply chains that connect us to people worldwide, how can our place respect the well-being of all people? Who picked and packed the food we eat? Who stitched the clothes we wear? Who assembled the phones and computers we use? Who dug and transported the materials that construct our homes and buildings? Are those people paid decent wages? Do they have good working conditions? And what are the impacts on their communities? Who is affected by climate breakdown today because of lifestyles where we live? And who's coming here, whether as a refugee or a migrant worker, or indeed as an international scholar coming to a university? How are they welcomed? What's the cultural welcome? What's the policy of welcome? How can we build solidarity and connection with people worldwide so that we ensure that the way we live here respects and, if possible, enhances the lives of people worldwide? So these are the 4 lenses of a portrait of your place through Doughnut Unrolled. And of course, the magic happens when we start looking for the interconnections between all 4 lenses, between the social and the ecological, between the local and the global. See how they're interconnected and see how we can transform them and transform them together. We invite you to use this canvas to transform your place, to bring your own examples and stories and realities here, so that you'll end up with a rich portrait unique to your location, to your town, your neighborhood, your city, your street, your country. And that portrait can be rich with so many different perspectives all brought together, whether you're focusing on local strengths and assets or challenges that are arising, stories from the past, the ecology of nature nearby, focusing on data of the current targets and indicators of the place. That might take some expert knowledge, but everybody can ask questions about this place and bring their possibilities and dreams. Indeed, we can think of this as one portrait that has many layers that you can choose to add. So let's look at them one at a time. Some places decide to start with a data layer, gathering together all the targets of your town or city or district. What have we committed to do? What goals have we set for ourselves? And then bring to that the indicators that would tell us, how are we doing? How far below the social foundation are we falling? How far over the ecological ceiling are we? And then we can measure over time whether or not we're making progress. And the methodology for doing this is set out in our Data Portrait of Place tool. Add on top of that layer a focus of strengths. What strengths and assets do we have here? What is the community wealth that already exists? What's already working? Let's celebrate the richness that we have and build on that. But also recognize the challenges that we already know we face, that are visible and that must be tackled. You may want to add a layer of questions, and everybody can ask questions. What does it mean to you to thrive? What would it mean to create a space that's as generous as the wildland next door? What questions could we ask to immigrant communities to learn about the complexities that they face living here? Questions are a brilliant way of opening up our minds and our explorations and bringing new things into consideration. Add a layer of history and stories. What is the history of this place? Why is it built as it is? What industries came here and left? What explains the community who live here today? How can we gather not just the histories of the past, but the stories of the present that tell us about lives lived here? How can we bring to life this portrait with the stories of people of this place in their full diversity? And then add experience and sense of place today. The organisation Civic Square made a beautiful walk shop that invites you to walk through your town or neighbourhood or down your street or across your city, and on this canvas recording things that you spot and see and sense and smell and feel as you walk through in all of the 4 lenses. Maybe it'll raise questions, you'll get insights, capturing what we know when we're actually in a place, capturing the sense of what it feels like to be there and therefore how it could change. And this brings us to the top layer of dreams, possibilities in imagination. And everybody has these and can share these. What can we imagine could be possible here? What can we learn from other places? What can we dream up for our own? How can we reimagine the future of our place so that it becomes are home to thriving people in a thriving place while respecting the well-being of all people and the health of the whole planet. So in this way, we have one portrait with many possible layers. You don't have to do them all, and you can start wherever you want to start. Layer together your own portrait, and please share it back with us. If you want to dive deeper into the tools we've created to support you on this journey, you might want to start by refreshing your understanding of the four lenses with this introduction to the four lenses, and dive deeper into the dimensions within each lens in this accompanying tool. If you want to get into the data portrait of place, this tool is for you, taking you step by step through the four lenses of how to gather the targets and how to gather and measure the indicators. And the community portrait of place gives so many ideas and examples from around the world of different sensing and stories and gathering knowledge that everybody holds and bringing forth dreams that everybody can create. So there's a quick introduction to the Doughnut Unrolled. We hope that it will inspire you to explore what these four lenses mean in your place, to create a portrait based on those many layers. And you can watch the following videos to see what that means in terms of creating a data portrait with targets and indicators, what it means to bring this work to life in communities, and what it means to do it as a city or a regional government, putting the Doughnut into practice. We look forward to the portraits you create. Please do share them back because we know they'll inspire us and many others.